Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Man is essentially extremely selfish animal on this planet. And the selfishness is reflected in terms of the desires that we entertain in our life. If we are to write our autobiography in one sentence, what we will write? We have been trying to fulfill our desires from day one till date. When you are small, I can tell you my example. I was small also. I used to like marbles a lot. So when somebody used to give me marbles, I used to be very happy. And if I don't get, I used to be very miserable. So marbles, marbles, marbles. Now I am grown up. I have got a beautiful house in Bombay. I have got only one desire. There should be marble in my bathroom. See? That desire for the marble mars your bulb. And this is what we imagine. Life is a struggle to fulfill desires. And when we try everything, and yet our desires are not fulfilled, then we go in search of someone, some superior power. And the organizations which will help us in fulfilling our desires. And those organized bodies are called as religion. See? So what is a religion? One person asked me this question many years before in US. He asked me, do you believe in Jesus? I said, no. I believe in Lord Jesus. He is not your pal. Okay. Lord Jesus. Says, yes. Then you are a Christian? I said, yes. But you look like a Hindu? I said, yes, I am Hindu also. How it is possible? Christian and Hindu? I said, latest technology, 2 in 1. So when I said like this, he became very angry with me. He said, if you say like this, you will go to hell. See, hell and heaven is created by religion. You will go to hell. Then I asked him, excuse me, where will you go? He said, of course I will go to heaven. I said, then I will prefer to go to hell. Because there you will again eat my head. See, friends, religion is a technique by which we can control the masses by 2 remote control buttons. One is the button of guilt and other is the button of fear. See? You have done this thing, booked for hell. Or else something you have done and then you are very disturbed and then you go for confession. Sir, I don't know what should I do. I also don't know what you have done. Don't tell anybody. Okay, I'll not tell you. I have done this thing. Then don't worry, I'll do puja for you. And then Upanishad says, Sa Pashuhu Devanam. And then he will be tied down by a lead all throughout life. Fear and guilt. These 2 things are the weapons which are used in every religion. And these are the 2 things which torture a person in the old age. Our Taittiriya Upanishad says, in old age these 2 things. One, Kimahagam papam akaravam iti. When I was young, why did I go the wrong way and did the wrong things? Now I am regretting the guilt. And the second one is Kimahagam sadhuna karavam. When I was young, why I did not go the right way? And now in the old age, other than the past, we have nothing. See, old people have no future. They have got only past. So whatever you have, that only you bring out, isn't it? And thus, religion is striving on these principles. Therefore, friends, please remember, if we live under the psychosis of fear as religion and get totally disgusted, fearful existence, then we have wrongly understood what religion means. Yet, religion is required for everyone. Animals don't have religion. Therefore, they don't go to hell. See? Human beings have religion. Therefore, they definitely go to hell. So, if you want to protect yourself from going to hell, pray to the Lord. Oh Lord, next life make me animal so I don't have to worry about going to hell or heaven. See? Then why religion is required in life? Fears are of two types. One type of fear is the one which will protect us from our licentious behavior. If we mistake freedom for license, then we go the wrong way. See? What is the licentious behavior? Licentious behavior is mistaking the freedom for foolishness. One example I'll give you. Now that girl is a mother of 2 children. When she was young, in college, she was studying for pharmacy somewhere in Nagpur, India. And she was for her MSc in pharmacy, and her father was also the professor in the same college. And she got some scholarship. So the whole group, her classmates, boys and girls, they came. Come on, her name was Kalpana. Kalpana, let's go for a picnic. You have got, things. When all of them came, the father was standing in the, porch. So he said, oh, she has already gone with some other people. She will join you there. And she was sitting inside. He had not gone. And when those boys and girls have gone, then this girl got so angry. Dad, why did you tell lies? I am still here. I was waiting for them. So dad said, enough is enough. I have given you freedom up to a limit. Beyond that, no. Till you live in my house, you have to obey my orders. After you get out of the house, do whatever you like. And then she got so frustrated. And the frustration boiled out in writing me a letter. Those days emails were not there. You know the emails? Emotional blackmailing is called as emailing. So she wrote a letter by the snail mail, what we call now. There were 28 questions. Don't worry, I will not tell you all. One question was this. In our Hindu society, ladies are always suffering because of the men. Ladies are in always bondage. They have no freedom. Then she wrote, as a girl before marriage, it is the father who dictates her. Father, bracket, man, italics, bold, underlying, inverted comma. After the marriage, it is the hubby. Hubby means husband. See? Again, bracket, the same thing, man. And in the old age, it is the son with whom the lady, the mother has to stay. Son, again man. Thus, women have no freedom. Reply my question. So I wrote her. I said, that depends on what you have understood by the word freedom. If freedom means whatever you feel like doing, if that is freedom, then yes, you are in bondage. But you should rule the mind, or mind should rule you. You decide. See? Atmaiva Atmano Bandhu, Atmaiva Ripuratmana. Our mind is our friend, our mind is our enemy. See? Therefore, if religion is aimed at working on our mind, be very attentive, we normally work by the mind. We don't work on the mind. Religion is meant for working on the mind. When we work by the mind means what? Whatever I feel like I shall do it. Then what is the difference between us and the animals? See? So if we claim to be human beings, then we should have this clarity that are we working with the mind or we are working on the mind. And therefore, religion gives us sufficient data to keep us self-disciplined. See, friends, whenever discipline is imposed from outside, it is a bondage. When discipline is self-imposed, it is a freedom. See, like all of you have come here. Now, those of you who have come on your own choice, you will enjoy. And those of you who are tied down with a lead, chalo na, okay. And then you somehow came here. And then looking into the watch, my God, this Babaji has started, how long is it? See? So if we recognize the definition of freedom is this, self-imposed bondage is freedom. See? Like, when we have camps and all that, so the participants get inspired. We should begin our day early in the morning at 5 o'clock and finish morning ABCD and sit for meditation. And 7, 8, 9 talks. So much inspiration that the inspiration reduces the person to spiritual influenza. And then he decides next day, from tomorrow onwards, I shall start getting up early in the morning, 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock next day morning. But this gentleman starts thinking, I am now 70 not out. Till date, I never woke up at 5 o'clock. What difference is made to me or to God? These Babajis, they come for nothing. Unnecessarily getting up early in the morning. I think I don't want to waste my time. And again we go to sleep. And then we wake up at usual 9 o'clock. And then regrets, oh God, I could not get up today also. Repeat it 2-3 times. And then we come to a conclusion. It is not my bite. And as a result, we start losing self-confidence. Friends, religion is a technique by which we discover self-confidence. See, Upasana does not mean becoming a bonsai. Upasana doesn't mean that we become the creepers. But this is what normally happens. Those so-called devotees of the God constantly blaming the God. One example, this happened somewhere near Bombay. I went to somebody's house for food. I go to people's house only for food. This is for your information. And when I went there, food was over. Then their son said, Sanjay, I'll drop you to the taxi stand. I said, okay, come. And on the way, he said, Swamiji, you are a spiritual man? I said, yes, they say like that. My mother is a great follower of such and such Swami Gadbadananda, for example. And then some kind of mantra is given. And then she does, every morning she gets up and does the Paduka Puja and this mantra, this chanting and this stotra, Monday Shivji, Tuesday Hanumanji, Wednesday Santoshi Mata, Thursday Guru Maharaj, Friday Balaji, Saturday Ekadashi, and Sunday Pradosh, something or the other. Whole week she is booked. And as a result, she will not eat and become cranky, self-confidence gone. And the result is, because I am the only son, I am not allowed to ride a motorcycle. Something may happen. Don't try. If I tell I am coming back at 7 o'clock, if it becomes 7:30, all the gods are brought down in a tub and they are submerged in the water. Till my son comes, I will not bring you out. And they are suffocating, doing pranayama. See? And as a result, I am so fed up of her spirituality. My dad is fed up. I am fed up. And if you say something, she goes on fast. And our main concern is how to get rid of these gods from the house. See, friends, is this religion? See, friends, if religion makes us weakling, it is not religion. It is a cartoon of religion. So whatever the techniques which are told in the religions, for example, observe Ekadashi. Few examples of religious practices, we'll learn what is the purpose behind it. Observe Ekadashi. See, I don't follow any Ekadashi because I believe in Panchadashi. You know, one person asked me this, Swamiji, you don't do Ekadashi? I said, no. Why? I said, I do Panchadashi. Oh, हमने तो कभी सुना नहीं ऐसे. It's your fault. It's not my fault. But what is Panchadashi? I said, what is Ekadashi? Oh, I don't know. I said, I also don't know. Ekadashi means 11. Oh, Panchadashi 15. So mine is superior than your charge. See? No, but we should observe Ekadashi. I said, okay. Then I also decided I should observe Ekadashi. And when I told I am observing Ekadashi, that day the house where I was staying, they had prepared the choicest dishes of my choice, but not falahar, because it is Ekadashi. And the best dishes I like, they were prepared. Now I was in a fix. I want to eat that also, but I have already told I am going to do Ekadashi. Now what to do? Then I prayed to the Lord. Oh Lord, show me some path. Karpanya doshopa tasvabhava pruchhami tvam dharma samudha jeta. And Bhagavan gave me the way. He said, Beta, there are 2 Ekadashis. You do tomorrow's Ekadashi. See? And then I said I will do Ekadashi, but the second Ekadashi, not today. See, friends, when we decide something in these various vratas, it is not for torturing ourselves. But these tapasya, austerities are done for 2 principles. Number 1, we have a wrong notion that we are dependent on things and beings. Discover your freedom, that you can survive without these things. See. So when you, for example, the 4 months of the year, Chaturmas, in Chaturmas we are supposed to abstain from onion, garlic and all kinds of non-vegetarian foods and drinks and everything, 4 months. But a person who is a solid liquid spiritualist, and for him, if he has to stop, then he will find out a way. See, vegetarian. Every liquor is vegetarian. It is made out of the grapes. Pure vegetarian. No non-vegetarian. See? No, but we are not supposed to drink and all that. And then you say, okay. And somehow, you go through the 4 months without eating non-vegetarian, onion, garlic, drinks, etc. And thereafter, what we do, we take a revenge. From tomorrow, we can eat. So even in the tea, we add the garlic and onion. Because 4 months I have not eaten. That is not the purpose. The purpose is, If 4 months we can survive without these things on which we were dependent, discover your freedom. Religion does not bind you. See? Therefore, Hinduism is not the way wherein you are put into this fear of a thing. If you don't do this thing, you will go to hell. No. See? The father may be the follower of Hanumanji, the mother may be the follower of Krishna, the children may be the follower of Ganapati. There is no contradiction. And the fourth one may not follow anything, eat and sleep, yet he continues to be. Because there is no fear complex included. So, these things in the religious practices, they are meant for, number one, for discovering this freedom. Nothing in this world should bind us. See, these are the experiments you do. See, I tell you, I used to take a lot of sugar in my tea. Otherwise, sweets I don't eat. So one of my hosts in South Africa, she told me, Swamiji, I'll suggest you something. I said, tell me something. See, you don't take sweets, but you take at least 4, 5, 6 times tea in a day. And every time you add 2 teaspoonfuls of sugar. So you take more sweet than eating the sweets. Then you stop taking sweets. Say sugar in the milk or your tea and see the difference. I said, okay, stop now. No, not like that. Slowly. I said, there is nothing like slowly. Either this or that. And from that moment I stopped. No sugar in the tea. First day, the tongue started wagging. See, our tongue tastes 9 tastes. If you cut your tongue and take the relative weight of the tongue in comparison to your total body, so it is 1 by 100. Now that 1 by 100 part of the body is providing 9 types of taste. So 1 by 100 into 9, 1 by 900. And the tongue makes us dance. And we keep on eating as a slave to this tongue. The tongue never becomes fat. Have you seen a fat man having a fat tongue? See? We become slave. Religion tells us, discover your freedom. It is for this purpose, try. See? And when you do it, you will discover self-confidence. I can. When this self-confidence and freedom is discovered, then we are walking really the religious path. But our upasana, our devotion to the God is what this girl was asking me, Swamiji, what is the meaning of devotion? Our devotion is what we go to the Lord. You have seen all our Hindu gods, they have got this posture. This left one is not Varadahasta, it is not a blessing. This is enough. How much will you ask? And this one, if you don't stop, I'll give 1. This is the meaning. Our devotion is constantly demanding. See, longer the namaskar, longer is the list. And after you finish your namaskar, list is over, you go and put on the shoes. Arey, ek to bhul gaya. Again you come back. Please remind you. That is not devotion, friend. See. However, good part is, instead of crying before the another crying people, go and cry before God. You will melt your mind. When you melt your mind, in that melted mind, you get answers to your problems. See, try this technique. It is a religious technique. Many people ask us questions how to decide, we can't take decisions and all that. So whatever is your problem, with that problem, finish in the morning, make your bath and all that, be fresh and sit before the Lord. And chant the 7th verse from Bhagavad Gita. Karpanya dosho pahata svabhavaha pruchhami tvam dharma sammuda chetaha yasreyasya nishchitam bruhi tanme shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. Chant this shloka maybe 11 times. And thereafter, put your problem before the Lord. Sir, this is the thing, what should I do? Whatever will be the first answer that will come from within, accept it in letter and spirit. Give it a chance. Maybe 1 or 2 times you may not succeed. Like when we ride a bicycle, first time we don't get balance, but we don't give up. Continue. Then you will develop that knack of taking right decision at the right time. This is what the religion can provide us. Instead of that, we simply go on asking and asking. See what Arjuna said? Yes, Nishreyasya. What is good for me? Normally what we go and ask God, what we like. Don't ask what we like. Oh Lord, what is good for me? Please grant me that. And in this manner, we slowly develop self-confidence and a different vision. This is one part of the religious practices. Then, in our religious practices, there are many things which are told right from birth onwards, up to death. There are so many samskar which are done. Now, all of them, I can't wrap them up in one talk, but one example. We are given the thread ceremony, the one Yagyopavit is put here. In that there are 3 threads. These 3 threads are self-accepted bondage for 3 purposes in life. First thread is we accept the bondage that we shall take care of our parents till they are alive or we are alive. Responsibility is the gift of religion. See? It is our responsibility. Second thread is our responsibility towards the society. The society has done so much for us. See? So we have to spare time, energy, money to do something for the society. It is our responsibility, not living only selfishly. See, I tell you how this society work can help. There is one lady, comes from a very good family, and she had a lot of problems in their family things. So one day she asked me, I don't know what should I do, I'm so fed up. I said, you come with me, but don't argue and discuss. I don't like argument and discussions. Okay. Then I put her in one medical camp twice a month. I said, you go and do whatever service you are told. And she started serving because she knew many languages, very well educated girl from a very respected family. So they put her on the front desk so that patients coming in 5-6 languages, she can handle one person. And she was doing that job. And what is your problem? They used to tell her and all that, okay, you go to this, you go to that. And when she did it, after about 5-6 sittings in those camps, she told me, Swamiji, I promise you, I have no difficulties, no problems. I said, what happened? I was thinking, I am the most miserable one in this world. But I have seen people are so many, not one, hundreds of them have hundreds of problems. In comparison to that, God has given me sufficient. This is the gift of social work. Never do social work with a compassion in your heart. Arey, bichara, he doesn't get proper food to eat. Government should give. And you go on eating. See, when you serve and when you have compassion, the quality of your mind will be different. When you have compassion, you belittle that person. He is most unfortunate. Who are you to decide who is unfortunate or fortunate? And we are fortunate? No. Then, when we serve somebody, in the process of service, the servant is subordinate and the one who is served is the boss. And service is always done with respect, with reverence. And thus we create an atmosphere in our heart that we learn to respect and revere everything and everybody. Religion teaches us this principle. Learn to respect and revere. See? When we respect or revere, who is benefited? See? The one who gives respect is benefited, or the one who receives the respect is benefited? Think about it. The other day I told in Melbourne or Sydney somewhere this experience. This happened somewhere in Himalayas when we were going. 2 bus loads, halfway we stopped for a cup of tea. Winter days, bright sun, very comfortable climate. So I was standing, somebody gave me a cup of tea, I was enjoying tea. And in India, so many pilgrims go to Badrinath. So one lady came and found free Swamiji available for doing Namaskar, Toko. So one came, then the second came, and a whole long queue was formed. And there was one doctor, she was coming for my lecture, some department, head of the department from Delhi. She asked this question, Swamiji, how do you feel when so many unknown people come and respect you? Now, how can you tell that feeling? I said, Mama, please hold my cup of tea. She held it. Then that next lady who was going to do Namaskar, I said, Mama, stop. She stopped. I said, this is my mother. I need Namaskar. When you do Namaskar to a Swami, you get 1 kilogram of punya, merit. But when you do Namaskar to the mother of the Swami, you get 1 quintal. What you want? Of course you want to divert. And the whole queue was diverted. I had my cup of tea and she was nailed. You can't forget. And after that was over, she was so mad after me. Swamiji, you are nasty. I said, never mind. Why did you do that? I said, your question was answered. You asked me, when the unknown people come and respect you, how do you feel? How did you feel? Oh, I was feeling very awkward. I said, listen, the one who gives respect is benefited, not the one who receives the respect. This is what religion teaches us. But if the religion brings hatred on account of the same principle of religion, it is not religion. See, friends, this respect is the most valuable thing for the human existence. See, friends, this respect and love changes our complete life. Take for example, you are a husband and you are coming home, evening time, tired, and you press the bell. And your wife opens the door and she is dressed exactly the way you like her dress. Not the whole chudel brand, but neatly dressed. And then she takes the briefcase from your hand and she leads you with other hand to a seat and she makes you sit and she removes your shoes and she removes your socks and there is a bowl of warm water with scent in that. She puts a towel and squeezes it out and slowly she wipes your feet. Imagine man free hai. You just imagine. What a joy it is. Even imagination gives you joy, is it not? If this really happens, wherever you go, you are respected. That is the fulfillment of life. See, friends. So when we learn to respect and revere, then we are practicing religion properly. But under the disguise of the religion, if we keep on fighting, my religion is superior than your religion. Ubhautau na vijanitaha nayam hanti na hanyate. Both of them are not understanding the principle of religion. Therefore, friends, religion is necessary provided yoginaha karma kurvanti sangam tyaktva atma shuddhaye. The practice of religion is meant for inner purification. See? It's not you go one day to the temple and after you come out you wash all your sins so that you are again fresh to commit another sins. No. It's not like washing machine. Use it and again throw it and no. It has to be a continuous process of evolution. And for that, more principles are added in our faith, where it is said that stop blaming others in life. Normally, we all are expert in blaming others for our miseries. See? If I am a husband, I am miserable because of wife. If I am a wife, I am miserable because of husband. If I am a daughter-in-law, miserable because of mother-in-law. If I am a neighbor, because of the neighbor, I am miserable. So, we have got a very beautiful default settings. Blame others for miseries. There was one family, this happened in Delhi or somewhere. And in that family, it was a 3:1 ratio. One wife, 2 daughters, and 1 husband and 1 father. So the man was 1, 3 ladies. Now you can imagine 3:1, what a challenge he has. And one day he says, Swamiji, for everything, all 3 of them unite together. I don't know what should I do. I said, I'll give you Mahamantra, but don't tell that I have told. Otherwise I won't get food in your house. Okay, we'll not tell. Then I told, you start a sololoquy. Sololoquy means talking to yourself. So that others can also hear. That is what sololoquy. Pata nahi kya karna hai, to do this thing, that thing. Others also hear it. Like that you start talking. Then anything happening anywhere, you start blaming yourself. See, America has bombarded Afghanistan. It's everything is because of me. I don't know why I am like that. See? Then there is a earthquake in Japan. Oh God. Again, I don't know how many things I am going to do bad in this world. You see, the earthquake in Japan happened because of me. Like that he continued. The 3 of them. What happened to daddy these days? He is talking like this. And after a few days, they said, everything is okay, shall we go to the doctor? No, what is wrong? Everything is fine. No, you are telling something. No, because it is happening because of me. Because if there is no gas in the house, it is because of me. If the girl fails in the examination, it is because of me. So, everything is because of me. So, why should I restrict only to the family? We are all expert in blaming others. Stop blaming others. It is for this purpose our religion tells that you are squarely responsible for all good and bad in your life. See? But I have not done anything to anybody. You might not have done in this life, but in the last life you must have done. But I don't remember. You are not remembering doesn't make any difference. In the divine computer, there is no delete switch. It is maintained. Then Because of you torturing your wife in the last life, she has come here with a vengeance and also observing the Karwa Chauth. She is not going to leave you next 7 lives. Oh God, this is too much. Then, now behave properly with her. Now see 2 things. Stop blaming others and change your behavior. This is what is religion. See, friends. Because a husband cannot run away from the wife. It's a proved principle. You know the story in our mythological literature? Savitri and Satyavan. When Savitri saw that her husband died and Yamaraj was taking, she fought with the Yamaraj and brought him back. Moral of the story, you can be saved from the death, not from husband. Janam janam ka saath. See, friends, therefore, stop blaming others. Then we become responsible. See? And when we become responsible, wherever there is any improvement required in life, improvement is required in us, not in the world. What we all do, this basic mistake. We try to improve others, not understanding God has failed to improve us. We can improve others. We cannot. See? Like in the hospital. Once I was in a hospital having some problem with my digestion. It was a very serious case probably, so they admitted me. And my diet was awful. They used to give me barley water and little bit of, boiled rice, the upper portion. And that's all. And my next patient in the same room used to get very good food. And I used to be jealous. I said, because I am a Swami, they are giving me third class food and he must be a rich man, therefore they are giving me good food. And I was fed up of my food. And he was fed up of his rich food. One day he said, I don't think I can eat today. I'm getting very heavy and I can't move because he had a fracture of his leg, both legs. But otherwise he was all right. I said, come on. Annam brahmeti vyajana. Don't waste food. I will eat that. And I ate that food. And all my readings were upside down. It became a serious case. The doctor came running and they put the douche from the mouth, a wash and sucked it out, everything. And then a nurse on duty and doctor, everybody was summoned. So I said, Aksha, please don't shout at anybody. I have eaten on my own, nobody gave me. Then he says, you don't understand, you are a Swami. I said, therefore I don't understand. If I understand, I would have married. See? All the wise people get married. So, he said, you don't understand, you are suffering from Malina. I said, what a lovely disease, like a lavina. It's a Malina, a good disease. Then he told me, if you do like this, your intestine will be cut into pieces. Don't do that. Now see, the moral of the story. The doctor was not my enemy, is it not? What was needed for me, that alone was given to me. Exactly the same way, religion teaches us. All of us get exactly what is needed for our evolution. See, many of you have gone to Kailash Manas, isn't it? I also went. And when I went, I was going alone. I heard of everybody. And other people dragging. So when I went, I found there are many people behind. So I sat on a stone. And there I saw Lord Shiva and Parvati Amma. And Lord Shiva was worried, putting his hand on his head and on the worried. He was rubbing his third eye. So Parvati Amma said, hey, what's wrong? What happened? No, I'm worried these days. What is the worry? The worry is um, so many people are coming for the yatra. If everybody becomes spiritual, how the world will move? So I am worried. The world requires both type of people, good and bad. This is how I am manufactured. But if all of them become good, then what is the problem? How can I do that? That is my worry. So Parvati Amma said, don't worry, I'll sort out. What will you do now? He became angry with his wife. All husbands, when they are a failure, they become angry with the wife. So she said, look here, even a dead clock gives correct time twice a day. I am leaving your wife. I can tell you something. What is that? You don't worry, I'll sort it out. But tell me what is that? Then she said, I'll put a virus in the heads of these people. And that virus will get them organized. Whenever people get organized, they forget the God and they remember the organization. And then get lost in this world. And this is how I maintain my creation. See, friends, religion is not an organized body. Religion, you get organized in your life. See, friends. And when you get organized in your life, you will come to know our life is having two principles. Number one, whatever is required for our evolution, that is individually provided by the Lord for every individual. That is the contract taken by the Lord. He decided for the evolution of every individual soul, I shall provide whatever is required. So we are all happy. Thank God, you are great. God said, enough of thanking. Then, what will you do? So all we Mahatmas were there. We said, we'll conduct a meeting. Because meeting is a technique by which you can avoid taking decisions. So, we'll conduct a meeting and report tomorrow. Next day we all went. Then God asked, what you have decided? So we told, sir, we have decided. For the evolution of every person, you are providing the right kind of environment. But how to interact with that environment, that will be provided by us in our satsanga. The religion has got these two principles. Number one, where we are, that is the right place for our evolution. Whatever situations we are put into, that is right for our evolution. Number two, what is required is how we should interact to the given situation. This we can know only if we expose ourselves on a regular basis to the satsanga. If satsanga forms an integral part of the religion, then that religion is creative. If satsanga doesn't form a part of religion, then it becomes only destructive. Satsanga is the one which brings us nearer to the truth. See? And it is for this purpose, Bhagavan Shankara says, Satsangatve Nissangatva. What satsanga does? Satsanga helps us remove our wrong notions. Because we are all carrying many wrong notions about ourselves, about the world, about God, and about spirituality or the spiritual practice. So these wrong notions are removed by the satsanga alone. So when we think of religion in this light, so religion is force which will help us change and evolve. See, in Bhagavad Mahapuran, in one place this thing comes very beautifully. Plants eat from below and they grow upward. You don't have to believe, it is the truth. Animals eat from the front and grow backward, horizontally. Human beings eat from above and grow downwards. So as regards the body evolution is concerned, we have reached the ultimate. There cannot be further. The further evolution can be only spiritual evolution. And to get on the spiritual path, the KG lessons are provided in the religion. The religion prepares us for the spiritual practices. And if a person has not followed these religious practices right from childhood, then he becomes only arrogant, argumentative, and wants to know everything logically, knowing well the truth is beyond logic. And yet we are unable to drop it. Therefore, when from childhood onwards we have the various practices in religion, like in the morning when you get up, after you get up, finish your things, first thing is light the lamp before the Lord, go and offer your prayers, and then do namaskar to all the elders in the family. That teaches us how to bend in life. Thereafter, the food is offered to the Lord. Without offering to the Lord, we don't eat. This is the religious practice. By this, we cannot offer. Let us offer today Bhagavan Krishna a chicken pulao. No, you cannot. Because it is not according to the religious practices. Automatically, our food habits are controlled. We won't go and eat any damn thing available, anywhere. See, once I was traveling from Kerala to Calcutta. Those days, maybe about 20-30 years before, and a 3-tier compartment. There was one very elderly lady, Kerala lady with me, and somebody had given me food, packed in a tiffin. So, after about 8-9 hours, I said, Mama, you have not got fruit? No, I don't eat anything. I said, but it will take 3 days to reach there. How can you go without food? You can share from me, this is food cooked at home, somebody gave me. No, Swamiji, my rules are, I don't eat when I travel. See, how much self-control. And she was very cheerful and happy, not disturbed. That self-control is easily brought out by the simple technique of religious practices. See? And in this manner, when right from childhood you keep on chanting the stotras, etc., we may not know the meaning, doesn't matter. But all of them get stored in our mind without our knowledge. And when we grow up and then we come across the same stotra, shloka, somewhere or the other, suddenly it clicks us. And that click is the one, what is called as spirituality. See, friends. Therefore, all these practices which are told, they are not only to torture us. They are not meant for making us miserable. What is this? Get up early morning and take cold water bath. See, this time we went to Kumbh Mela. 21 days I was there. In the month of January, February, very cold. There is nothing like, heaters in the room. There is nothing like hot water for taking bath. All around, not one or two, but millions of people, and the sands of Ganges absolutely cold. In the morning, we will go and take bath. Hundreds and thousands of millions of people are taking bath. Children, elderly, everybody. And in that, atmosphere, you also go and dip into the Ganges, take bath, and barefooted, no socks, no nothing. And yet, nothing happens to you. That inner strength you discover when you walk this religious path. So religion doesn't make us a weakling. It invokes our inner strength. And in this manner, when we start practicing religious practices, then as we grow, we discover what is the purpose of each practice. For example, we are told, according to religious practices, we should leave the bed before sunrise. We are read in our school, early to bed and early to rise. How many of us go to bed early? 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, late movies and all that. And somehow in the morning when we get up, early morning, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, that time directly Shambhavi Mudra. Before going to sleep, take bath so that you should get good sleep. But after getting up from the sleep, you should live a good day. That is not required. Directly coming from the bed, putting on the shoes and all that, and with the Shankha Chakra Gada Padma started. You know Shankha Chakra Gada Padma? When they drive the car, Chakra, Coke, Shankha. You know that shift, stick, Gada and Padma. Shankha Chakra, Narayan Bhagwan. Neither taking bath, not becoming fresh, nor offering prayers to the Lord, somehow or the other dragging through the life. See? And then waiting for TGIF. You know TGIF? Thank God it's Friday. It's a chain of hotels, in the US, TGIF. And when they come on Monday after the weekend, they get weakened and they come on Monday to the office. And what is the discussion? Only, what did you do? Where did you go? Oh, we went there. Oh, we went there. What do you... Prosperity or perversion? See, friends, religion disciplines our life. See, just understanding is required. What will the scriptures get by telling us to start your day early? Scriptures don't get anything. It is for our benefit. See? But we are ready to pay through nose to the Bikram yoga. See? One person asked me this question in the US. Swamiji, what is this hot yoga? We have not heard about it anywhere. What is the hot yoga? I said, yes, it is scriptural sanction in there. What is that? I said, do you know the person who started? He is a Bengali gentleman. Yes. In Bengali language, A is pronounced as O. Like bhajan is called bhojan. Similarly, hatha yoga is called hot yoga. Nothing else. It is not a hot yoga. And then we are ready to sweat there. But we are not ready to discipline our life because our religion tells us. See, friends. Therefore, when the religion is acting on our mind, then we are following the religious practices. See? And what should be the impact of these religious practices on our mind? Only one impact. Our mind should remain at peace under all conditions. See, one example I tell you, this I knew a very close friend of mine. He was a hi-fi brand and his mother was a very religious lady. But she will never bother her children or anything. So this son is to always, make fun of her. Mommy, you are all the time taking the Lord's name, doing puja, poti. What do you get? What do you want? And she was at peace. He said, I don't want anything. But I am just doing it like that. But maybe you must be wanting something. You are now old. She was about 80, 85. He said, I want only one thing. That as I am talking to you, healthy, happy, in this manner I should leave my body. And she left the body. See the freedom. I have seen 2-3 places like that. One great saint in Pandharpur, he left his body and his body was lying in the room. In the same room his wife was also sitting. Next morning when they came to take the body, both of them were lying together dead. She also left the body willingly. So much of devotion and dedication to the cause. Her husband was a great Kirtankar. That was the first time in that place, Pandharpur, both husband and wife, they are, the yatra came together and they are together led. See? Religion is not just like that. If you practice it sincerely, it will purify complete inside. And such a person, he does not do meditation thereafter. He starts living in meditation. Technically it is called as Krutopasti. Krutopasti means those who have lived a real religious life. Such people, their life is effortlessly cheerful. They have no complaints. They don't want to improve anybody. As the things are, they are happy with it. And this vision is given by the religion. And therefore, instead of getting into the controversies, which religion is good, which religion is bad, it makes no difference. In every religion you get both kinds of people, good and bad. But the word religion should not be specified for a particular type. But if we are able to bring change in our own mindset by these religious practices, then alone we are practicing the religion in the right spirit. Therefore, yoginaha karma kurvanti sangam tyaktva atma shuddhaye. So in this manner, these practices help us discipline from within. Now how the fear helps us as a religious practice. When we are told if you do something bad, you go to hell. Nobody is disciplined without a rod of fear. People, they ask, see, Indians are so disciplined when they are in other countries like Singapore. But the same Indian, when he comes to India, he becomes so, throws garbage everywhere. Why this happens? It is not that in Singapore, people have love for cleanliness. No. There you get punishment. You throw the garbage litter on the roadside or road, not only you are fined. If you jump a red light, you are not fined only in dollars, but in addition, number of canes. Depending upon how fast you are gone. Suppose the limit is 16, you have gone 90, 30. 10 canes. And they are so considerate. They don't want to spoil your clothes. So they ask you to remove the clothes. And then the caning begins. 1, 2, 3. And you fall unconscious. Again they are very considerate. They take you to the hospital. Malam patti is done. And on your report written, 7 balance. Who will dare not follow the rules and regulations? See, friends, the fear given by the religion that is the only language we understand. But the wise people don't require fear. They lead their life with proper understanding. Religious practices help us initially by the fear, but subsequently when we grow, when we become mature, then automatically the quality of our life changes. If a person is religious, so-called religious, and if the quality of life is not good, such people are more detrimental to the religion than those who are not practicing religion at all. Therefore, those who are practicing religion or they think that they are practicing, they must become an ideal for others to follow. See, it is something like, we give lectures. And in our lecture, we quote Bhagavad Gita left and right. And we tell that in Bhagavad Gita it is told, Trividham naraka sedam dvaram nashanam atmanaha kama krodhas tatha lovaha tasmad etat trayam tyaje. These are the 3 gateways to hell. The desire, the anger and the greed. They will take you to hell if you don't leave them. And some child comes, plays, goes here and there, or somebody goes out in between and comes again. And in the same Babaji, just now he said, anger, desire, and greed are the gate with hell. And he becomes angry. Why you are late? Meaning what? Book for hell. See, friends, religious people have more responsibility to be an ideal for others. And when this is consciously practiced, then it is religion. Otherwise, the external marks have minimum value. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.